Thanks so much, Robin. Looks great up there. We cannot wait to join you. But we are going to begin now back here in the studio with Bernie Madoff. As we know, 13,500 people lost their savings with him. Someone said it was like the Titanic going down. And you're going to hear from one of those people breaking her silence this morning.
A lot of details coming out and news on the investigation. So let's get to Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross. He's got more.
While Madoff continues his controversial house arrest in a $7 million New York penthouse, his wife Ruth is trying to make sure she can keep the apartment and some $62 million in cash, even if he goes to prison. All to the outrage of his victims, including many of Ruth's one-time bridge partners.
I don't know how Ruth Madoff could sleep at night knowing that the women that she played cards with at her country club are out of their homes right now while she sits on top of tens of millions of her dollars.
Ruth Madoff claims she has her own money and played no role in her husband's scam. But at her 50th high school reunion last November, she wrote, "Bernie and I worked together in the investment business that he founded in 1960. Ruth even had her parents, seen in this home video, recruit investors for Madoff from guests at a popular resort hotel in the Catskills. Among them, leukemia victim David Aronson, who fears the scam fluffed the pillows of their elegant den." Brian Ross, ABC News, New York.
And that's Brian Ross on the investigation. But we turn now to a story you have not heard, but a face you've seen many times before. One of the most storied careers in the fashion industry. One of the original supermodels on the cover of Vogue at age 15. 60 years of making her living showing off the top lines in Paris, Milan, and New York, and photographed by photographers like Richard Avedon. And then after all this work, a dear friend of 15 years, Bernie Madoff, a man you traveled with, spent holidays with the companion in her life, takes your life savings and they are gone. That is the story of Carmen Del Orefice, who is ready to speak out this morning, and along with her is Mark Seal, who wrote the Vanity Fair piece, and we welcome you both. Carmen, I am trying to imagine the moment when you get a phone call and learn that after all these years of believing that Bernie Madoff was your financial guardian, it's gone. But how did you hear?
A friend called me and said, you know, how are you? And I said, gee, I'm fine. What do you mean you're fine? You haven't heard. I said, heard what? The feds just arrested Bernie Madoff. I said, she said, Bernie. And I said, Bernie who? And she said, Bernie Madoff. And I said, for what? She said, for, it's all a lie. It's a Ponzi.
Do you realize that it's all gone? Is it all gone, your whole savings?
My savings are gone. I'm not gone.
Let me ask you something, because I think this is the most mysterious thing of all. He was your friend. He was your friend. When you look back, tell us about him. Tell us the man you saw and what you now think. Was it a double life? Was he deluding himself? What do you think?
I mean, I simply don't know what to think because I'm not a psychiatrist. But I have to tell you that the Bernie Madoff, the Bernie and Ruth that I know are family people. They were always together.
Are you angry at him?
I am angry at him. I'm more angry at myself, if anything.
What do you think of him? What's the first word that comes to mind?
Sick. I don't know. That not smart. I gave Bernie credit for being smarter than to be caught in the vice of the world that was tanking.
Let me ask you, Mark, this same question.
Yes.
Who is he? Did he delude himself? Did he think he was going to pull it off? Who is he?
We don't know who he is yet. I think that's going to come out. What he worked on, though, is something called, I'm convinced, the power of no. When you're told no, you can't get into something, whether it's a restaurant, a club, an investment opportunity, you want to get into it more. So across the world, these people were clamoring to get into this man.
And now all the money is?
Now all the money is who knows where. So that was just one example. I went on a cross-country tour of Madoff investors. I talked to about 40 different investors all across America. And you would open the door. I felt like the angel of death, walking from one door to the next, and behind each door was a state of devastation.
How are you going to live now?
The way, see, I'm fortunate, having had the past experience. I've never altered my lifestyle because I knew money was there. I still have
lived
the same apartment, live within the means I make. And then when I have my little lifestyle just intact, I give the rest to Bernie. By the grace of one day, he might have had another $100,000 from me.
So now you're going to be living on the income you make from modeling and building up savings
and social,
once again.
Listen, I'm going to be 78 years old, Diane. So the thing is, I've been on Social Security for a long time. I have a pension from Screen Actors Guild, and I have. Because I grew up in the Depression, I'm a good saver.
And if you saw Bernie Madoff again, what would you say to him?
Why? Why? I thought you were so smart. How could you do it to yourself? I start with what he's done to himself, and when I think about what's happened to all the people whose lives are ruined.
Have you tried to call him?
No, I wouldn't. Because I am still trying to compute that everything I knew about him was false.
A mirage?
Yes, it's like, I had a bad dream.
Well, again, thank you so much for getting up so early and being here. It is wonderful to see you both. And my goodness, in your 70s or any age, we should be so lucky. We should all be so lucky. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Diane.